Today, we're diving into a really powerful idea from psychoanalyst Horney. It's all about that intense inner battle between who we really are and the person we feel we should be. She called it the tyranny of the should. And believe me, it's something a lot of us struggle with.
You know that feeling, right? That little voice that tells you there's a better, more perfect version of you just around the corner. If only you could try a bit harder, be a little different. Well, that feeling is exactly what we're going to unpack today. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start at the very beginning, with anxiety. Then we'll look at how that pushes us to create a perfect self. From there, we'll explore the wild chase to become that person, and finally, the really tragic fallout from that whole quest.
So, where on earth does all this inner conflict come from? Well, Horney believed it all starts with a deep crack in our sense of self, an inner rift that's born from anxiety.
And this is the absolute core of the whole thing, what she called basic anxiety. It's this deep, sinking feeling of being small, helpless, and totally alone in what feels like a hostile world. When we're stuck in that feeling, it actually blocks our ability to just be ourselves. We start to feel like a stranger in our own skin. So this anxiety creates this really painful split inside of us. On one side, you've got the real self, which, because of that anxiety, we start to see as pathetic, flawed, and kind of despicable. And to escape that feeling, we invent the idealized self, this godlike, perfect vision of who we should be, the hero, the genius. And that massive gap between the two, that's where all the trouble starts.
To run away from the pain of feeling like we're not good enough, we construct this ridiculously positive but totally fake self-image. It's a defense mechanism, really. It's a way to feel some kind of stability when we feel totally lost and disconnected from our true selves.
Now, Horney said that this fragile new identity is basically held up by three major pillars: the neurotic search for glory, neurotic claims, and neurotic pride. Let's dig into the first one because it's a biggie.
So, the search for glory isn't just some casual wish to be better. No, it's an all-consuming, obsessive mission to make that idealized, perfect version of yourself real. It completely takes over a person's life. It's a desperate drive.
And this whole search for glory has a few different flavors. First, there's this intense need for perfection, trying to cram your entire messy personality into this neat, ideal box. Then there's neurotic ambition, which is this compulsive need to be better than literally everyone. And finally, you get its ugliest side, a drive for vindictive triumph, where winning isn't about your own success, it's about crushing other people.
Horney just nailed the inner voice with this quote. This is the tyranny of the should in action. It's that constant, brutal command in your head. Ignore who you actually are and become this impossible fantasy. It's just relentless. Okay, so that second pillar, neurotic claims. This is basically a massive sense of entitlement. Think about it like this. Most of us, if we're in a long line for a movie, might wish we could just skip to the front, but we know we don't actually deserve to. But someone with neurotic claims genuinely believes they are special, that they are entitled to that spot, and they get furious when the world doesn't play along. And pillar number 3 is neurotic pride. Now, this is not genuine self-esteem from things you've actually done. Nope, this is a loud, showy, and incredibly fragile pride that's based entirely on that fake, idealized self. It has to be defended all the time because deep down, there's this terror that it's all built on lies. It's all about protecting the illusion. So what happens when this perfect world, this whole house of cards, starts to wobble? Well, eventually, the real self gets compared to that impossible, godlike ideal, and it never, ever measures up. And this is where things get truly tragic.
This is the breaking point. It's that awful moment when you realize that you can't ever live up to the fantasy you've created. And the feeling that follows isn't just mild disappointment. It's a deep, toxic self-hatred for what you see as your real, disgraceful self.
This self-hatred then starts to show up in some really horrible ways. It becomes this relentless inner critic, always making demands, always accusing you of being a fraud. It can lead to self-contempt, where you just belittle yourself constantly. And it can get darker, leading to self-frustration, where you deny yourself any pleasure, or even self-torment, where you actively cause yourself pain. And at its worst, it leads to self-destructive actions that can wreck your entire life.
Horney just summed up this whole tragic journey with this one chilling metaphor. In chasing the glory of that perfect, idealized self, you basically make a deal with the devil. And the price? You end up in a hell of your own making, a hell inside your own mind. The promise of glory leads directly to the torture of self-hatred.
So the big takeaway here is that this gap, the one between who we are and who we think we should be, can be the source of so much pain.
And that leaves us with a really important question to think about. What would happen if we could just stop? What could change if we stopped chasing that impossible ideal and started instead to accept our real selves, flaws and all?